Hey guys, I just wanted to jump in for a second and let you know a little bit about today's live stream sponsor, DNA Funded. DNA Funded has very generous profit sharing up to 90% and 3 different unique challenge types. For those looking to get funded, they also have speedy payouts, unlimited trading days on the first and second phase of their challenges, a very wide list of different things you can trade with over 800 different assets tradable, and maybe the most important component, a very experienced team behind the whole operation. So if you're interested in learning more about DNA Funded, click the link, check it out, see if it's right for you, and make sure to do your own due diligence to see if what they have to offer fits your trading style. For 20% off, you can use code A1T20. Again, that will be 20% off any of their challenges you'd like to check out. Thank you again to DNA Funded for sponsoring today's live stream. Now back to the show. Hey guys, I just wanted to jump in for a second and let you know a little bit about today's live stream sponsor, DNA Funded. DNA Funded has very generous profit sharing up to 90% and 3 different unique. All right, everybody, good morning. Welcome back to another live stream. Happy Monday to you. And I hope you're all doing well. We are back in the office here at A1. First stream from the office in 2025, which is kind of exciting. And we are watching as markets kind of come to life. Things typically are a little bit slow during the holiday period, but markets start to heat up again, usually in January and in February. So I hope everybody's ready. We're going to be watching. Several markets here as we get started. We've got the S&P 500, the NASDAQ here, just shy. Well, S&P 500 is just shy of all-time trading highs. You're not that far off in terms of a move here from getting a new all-time high on the S&P 500, about less than 1% here. NASDAQ, however, is a little bit more room to the upside here before you have a new all-time high, about 3.4% there. Dow Jones is also pretty close to a new all-time high, actually the closest other than maybe the Russell. Let's see. Nope, Russell's still a good bit of a ways, about 4% until you get new highs on the Russell. So the question becomes, as we go into a new calendar year, does anything change because the calendar year has flipped? And I think there's some things that have changed. We know towards the end of a year, you typically have some sort of tax loss harvesting goes on. And then the January effect can be a real thing. Seasonality wise, let me just pull this up, see if we can get some examples here. Annual seasonality. We are looking at the S&P 500 with a fresh year, right? And with that in front of us, we historically speaking see a strong start to the year, right? So you typically see that January into February move look good. Then you get a little bit of a lackluster historical return period, February, March. And then typically you see a good period for most of the year, some softness in September and October. And then we have that fourth quarter, typically pretty strong historical rally. And we've seen in 2025, we really followed suit with that, right? We know the February, March, April sell-off that took place last year coincided with the tariff tantrum and all the worries about that. And then the market completely resolved to the upside and ended up having a very strong year. So we'll see what is in store for us in 2026. My personal opinion is I think that in terms of 2026, I think you're probably more likely to get a little bit more volatility than we did in 2025. Now, specifically what I mean by that is the VIX was really strange last year. You had essentially the sell-off, the worrisomeness come in all at once. And then after that, after you had the big panic around tariffs, we essentially stayed in a low volatility range for the whole rest of the year. So I would be pretty surprised if going into 2026, if we saw something, where we just stayed like this all year long. And I would also be surprised if, we don't get something like this, right? Where you get some VIX spikes within. We've had a year of very low volatility, really, outside of the April move. And then before that, we saw the August move in 2024. But that's been kind of the theme here of this market is you have these huge volatility bouts that come and go very quickly. And whereas if we look at like a year like 2022, you could get something more like this, right? Where you had these steady, big jolts in the VIX. And we saw during this year, this was a very tough year in the financial markets. You saw a lot of downside in the stock market. And so I think that, we've had some period of time of pretty low volatility. I wouldn't be surprised if 2026 has more volatility in store for us. Doesn't mean I'm bearish, doesn't mean I think the whole thing's going to crash, but I do think that you're probably going to get some more volatility this year than last year. That would be my opinion. Not necessarily a higher reading than a 60 VIX. I mean, that's pretty incredible. But maybe we spend a little bit more time in the 20s and 30s. That's, my thought and opinion on it. Part of the reason for that is that the market is very, very if you look across the lexicon of bank forecasts, right? Big Wall Street players, they all think the stock market is going to go up. And the reason that I think that the worrisomeness here is that when you have everybody thinking the stock market is going to move higher, probabilities for the stock market to go higher, or the magnitude at which the stock market can go higher, I think gets a little less attractive. We can see this in some historical data. Let me show you this scenario backtest really quick. I talked about this yesterday on my Sunday video, and I need to do a little bit more research on this stuff. But if I take a look at, I want to look at crowd sentiment. So long story short, when you have investor sentiment very bullish, right? When people are very, very bullish in the markets, you have pretty lackluster forward-looking returns. Historically speaking, that's not a guarantee. That's, nothing in markets is a guarantee, but generally speaking, when volatility is very low and people have very high expectations for markets, that's typically where you don't get the massive, stock market up years. Typically, not always, but typically the best stock market years follow really bad stock market years. And we've had multiple years where market's done really, really well. So my thought process is cautious in 2026. I'm not bearish. I'm not, betting against the market. But I think upside here for the stock market, I would be surprised if we had a 25% up year in 2026. I remain long certain stocks that I like, and I still think that dips in the stock market could be buyable. But I would like to, personally, I'd prefer to see some downside action in the markets before really getting further invested myself or even long side trades. I just think the stock market is a little bit pricey, but for good reason in some ways, right? You still have a scenario where CapEx spending, big company spending is massive. You might as well call that a rate cut because you have such big, tech stocks that are spending so much money on this AI thing. It's stimulating the economic growth. GDP statistics are in large part so strong because essentially big businesses are spending so much. So I'm not opposed to the idea of looking for buys on NASDAQ, but these would be trades. These wouldn't be investments, right? So I'd be looking for something like this, right? Breakout, pullback, long side action there on the NAS looks good. Same thing with the all-time high. If you were to break above, retest into this area, that's a possible setup for me as well. So there are some trades that I see out there that look good. Like, for example, I went long the Russell. I think the Russell could benefit from lower interest rates if the Fed does kind of push forward with that, which I kind of think that is a story for 2026. I think the jobs market's going to continue to cool. And we see that in gold too. That's also why I am long gold. I think gold and the Russell have some similarities in that sense where we are looking for, the Fed to cool interest rates and for if the economy continues to cool off a little bit, in the jobs market world that could lend towards higher prices for gold spot, etc. Interesting little follow-up from yesterday's action on the Venezuelan stuff, right? We had the U.S. Take the Venezuelan president, and in response, initially the market opened up, shot oil lower, and then the market bottomed on that news. And pay attention to this because it's usually the case that when you have something that is just very bearish for something, it typically causes it to go down. Every once in a while, though, you will see market news that looks like it should be very bearish for something, and the market actually bottoms on that. that actually signals to me that oil may be closer to a bottom. And I'm going to watch it close because the, Venezuelan oil getting put more readily onto the markets by, that's why the US is involved, right? It's very clearly in some way revolving around the massive oil reserves that Venezuela has. And so, the US getting more involved could somehow free up that oil. I imagine that is kind of the goal. If that happens, what happens to the price of oil? Well, it would kind of be a bearish factor, right? More supply on the market for oil could keep the price contained to the downside. However, on that news, we actually saw the market shoot lower initially, but start to bottom here. So watch price action close here because sometimes you get, for example, sometimes the best bottom on a stock is when a stock bottoms on bad news. What that tells you is the market is so bearish already, so expecting it to go down, that even bad news is not enough to keep it going down, like the price is so low. So could that be happening here on oil? Could oil be up on what should be bearish news, and that perhaps is, a reversal signal? I'm not willing to take a long position on oil. It's just not the way I trade. I like to see higher lows, higher highs, but I will watch it because, again, Edgefinder had a bullish reading on oil, but it's still sitting pretty close at +4. I'm going to watch oil. If you start to see a upward reversal here and we start to break through structure, going to, of course, keep an eye on some of the macroeconomic data that comes out this week. If you get these types of scenarios where you're starting to form higher lows and higher highs, I'll watch it close. I don't have a trade on oil at this time, but I'm going to continue to watch it. If you get some sort of breakout of this downward structure that looks like it's actually holding past resistance turn support, I may look to participate in that. I am already, like I said, I'm very long precious metals. Just gold. I am long gold. In my long-term portfolios, I have silver as well. But in terms of my active trading account, I am long gold with a stop loss below this low that we put in back on December 31st. So last day of the year, we had a little shoot to the downside. And then price has pretty much rebounded here higher. Why is that? Why is gold up today? Well, uncertainties geopolitically, I think, are a fair thing here. Some part of me wonders with this sort of incursion into Venezuela, does China get some sort of ideas about Taiwan? I've seen that kind of floating around. But also, I think it's lower yields here this morning. Yields moving lower. Why would yields move lower in response to this? More oil supply being put onto the market could temper inflation expectations on the longer run. More oil in the system means less risk to an oil supply shock. Less oil supply shock means less chance of runaway spiking inflation due to oil, which has been historically a problem there. So yields down, gold up. Makes sense, right? Why does it make sense? Well, yields down might give the Fed a little bit more leeway to cut interest rates, which is the ultimate or one of the ultimate bull cases for gold going higher. So the other scenario there is it also favors the Russell. So I think that gold and silver are up partially because they've just been very popular places to trade. And that's part of the reason why I'm long them. I like to chase momentum with a stop loss and with a calculated risk. But I do think upside for gold and silver makes sense. And if they completely flop, if they fail out here, stopping out, taking a small loss and moving on. Nick, did you close the first trade you were in on gold? I only see the active position. Yeah, I trailed out of my 2 positions. So I had, essentially, I went long. Let me show you. I had the moving averages aligned and ended up taking a long position here. And I added, where did I add? I think I added like here. Ended up closing out both of those trades on this red day. And then I decided to rejoin the trade because I still liked it. After we had the rejection from this area, bounced back up, I rejoined the trade. So it's a new trade. My old 2 positions, I closed for a profit, and now I am in a new trade that is so far moving okay. What am I looking for to trail stops in this one? I would like to see this thing break through the highs. If we were to get this kind of move, right? Clean through those highs, then I am going to look to take this stop loss and trail it further in. But I do think gold can get there. It's moving with a lot of momentum. These are charts that I typically do like to trade. I like gold better than silver because I think silver, silver looks phenomenal as well. Look at this. We retested that 38.2, and that just goes to show you when you have a really strong upward trend, the 38.2 is like magical. I mean, it's not magical. Nothing is magical and nothing is perfect in markets. But when you have something that's trending really well, the 38.2%, what I found, typically holds really, really well. Like typically, and sometimes it doesn't even get to the 38.2. When something's really moving, like it just pauses. It doesn't even really come down. This is the first time we've actually had a little bit of a drop in silver. 38.2 got tagged, and we so far are reversing nicely to the upside on that. I didn't like silver as much because I felt I didn't have as much structure looking left, and we don't even have any of our moving averages being retested. Gold, I just liked the chart better. We retested that 20-day moving average. We retested this prior all-time high. I feel that I have good structure to build a logical trade plan with risk management in mind. I can stop out if this doesn't work out. I know where to stop out, and I'll just move on to the next trade. But I like the setup. I like the risk reward here. What's the longest trade you've held? Like a year and a half on a Tesla trade that I just kept trailing stops on. It was my best ever. It was like a 100% return on my, I think I put like 10% of my account in Tesla in 2020. And then the stock doubled and my portfolio did really well in that. And I just kept trailing stops over and over and over. It was awesome. I trade a lot of different things. I trade stocks, indices, currencies, commodities. Nothing, sometimes I had someone comment this recently. They were like, Nick, your Forex trades are not very good, but your index trades are great. And I can remember other times in my trading career where people have said, Nick, your Forex trades are great, but your indices trades are not so good. And it kind of is like a reminder to me that like, no matter what your strategy is, there are times when your strategy is going to look great, and your times are where your strategy is going to look terrible. Like sometimes, like in 2022 and 2023, Forex was like the best aspect of my trading. Some of you guys might remember if you were with me during that time. Some of you guys have been watching me for years, and I really appreciate you doing that. But some of you might remember that we traded euro down to parity, and it was a monster win streak in 2022 for us. I think. Now, granted, I had losers later on, so nothing is perfect. But during like 2022 and 2023, trading the yen short and the euro dollar short, I think we had like months on end without any losers. It was awesome. Granted, nothing lasts forever. And basically, I was bearish on the euro, and it's easy to make money when you're bearish and the chart's just going down. Then, of course, I took some losses when we reversed, and then I adjusted and eventually actually got bullish on the euro dollar. So my point is, if your only exposure to a trading strategy is in this window, right? And you watch me take trades and you're like, wow, every time Nick takes a short position, he's killing it on euro dollar. But then imagine somebody starts watching what I'm doing right here, and they catch me short in the euro dollar 4 times in a row and getting stopped out every time. This person during this time is going to say, that strategy is amazing, Nick. And then the same, or maybe a new person is going to look at this and say, this strategy stinks, right? My point with showing you this is that it doesn't matter what strategy you use. Sometimes your strategy is going to look terrible. Choose anything you want. Go into the candy shop, select any strategy. You want to trade breakouts, you want to trade moving averages, you want to trade ICT, you want to trade fundamentals, macros, sentiment analysis, whatever you want to trade. Pick anything. And sometimes it will work great, and other times it will not work well. So how do you make money in the end? You accept that every strategy is going to have ups and downs, and you embrace, I am going to have drawdowns. Drawdown is guaranteed. Doesn't matter what strategy you pick. You will have periods where you're like, gosh, this strategy stinks. And the problem is when people find themselves in that circumstance, that's when they switch strategies, right? They give up. They're like, this one doesn't work. Let me move. Let me find another one that never has drawdown. And they keep chasing their tail for years and years and years. Is anybody guilty of this? Has anybody done what I just described? Because I did. My first 2 years, I kept switching strategies, or year and a half before I really got into back testing. Back testing, the reason I say it's so critical to actually learning this stuff is you essentially, by back testing enough, you will learn what I just expressed through blood, sweat, and tears, right? You back test for hours and hours and hours, and you realize I can't find a strategy that doesn't have a losing streak that really stinks in it. Every strategy does, right? So anyways, that's my point is, find a strategy that you like, because guess what? No matter what strategy you choose, it's gonna not be so fun sometimes. Let's take a look at this Euro move. I'm gonna just filter out here neutrals for a second, see if I have anything really pressing this morning in terms of entries. Okay, we have a little bit of a switch up here in terms of stuff on the radar. Pound Swiss getting a bullish reading, and a pretty strong one at that. Pound Swiss, let's take a look. Pound Swiss, okay. Let's do a little chart markup here on Pound Swiss. Broke out of this area, resistance overhead. I would be looking for this move or a reversal back into this area. Looking for that move. So nothing right there. Let's see what else. NZD CHF will pull up some Swiss franc pairs making the rounds here this morning. Swiss franc against the Kiwi. Yeah, I don't love this chart, to be honest. Let's move on to another one. No trade. Dollar Swiss getting a bullish reading. Okay. USD CHF. I haven't had a dollar bullish setup in a while. Dollar Swiss rebounding really nice off these lows. If I can find a good setup on the long side of dollar Swiss, I always love taking that. The reason for that is because you get paid nicely to hold this pair long. However, it's been a really bad performer for a while. So I'd be hesitant on this one unless you were to get, this is definitely a longer term, looking breakout, but I'd be looking for this. Or, if you're trading a lower time frame, at least breaks of here, maybe a break of here. Just show some signs of life here on this chart, because this thing has been a really big loser here, the dollar Swiss franc to the downside. Thoughts on the news today? I'm not sure what you mean by that. News in terms of the Venezuela stuff we talked about earlier. We have PMIs this morning. I think maybe that's what you mean. We have PMIs in 35 minutes, I think. ISM manufacturing PMIs. Yeah, so that could move markets. We'll see if that does anything big. This is also probably big news. Fed's Kashkari job market is clearly cooling, no question. My guess is we're close to neutral. I think he's a little bit mixed on, yeah, we're close to neutral now. Inflation is still too high. There's a risk to unemployment rate can pop from here. I've kind of said that on my channel for a while now. I think that the jobs market is really kind of taking precedence over inflation right now for Fed members. Dollar index is on the rise here this morning. My opinion, I am a little bit more keen on fading that kind of move. I am long Kiwi dollar. I'm going to stay with this trade here, unless, of course, we break support and then we just, if I'm just wrong and early to this idea, then I'm out of that trade. But on the Edge Finder, are the scores out of 10? How does it work? Yeah, so the range here is a little bit unique to each type. Like Forex pairs have a certain range. I actually don't know off the top of my head. We've added new scoring, so I'd have to do the math. But usually a very high reading. Basically, over 5 is considered bullish. Under 5 is considered bearish. And I believe it is over 10 or over 9, you get a very bullish or -9 for a very bearish reading on Edgefinder. Okay, so gold is still running hot here, looking good. Silver's up 5.3%. Silver has been so volatile here. And NASDAQ is making a good push here this morning as well. Look at that 15-minute candle. We are ripping here back higher, recapturing pretty much all of this loss that we saw on Friday's big downward candle. Russell's also doing pretty neat as well. S&P 500 up 0.5%. Definitely got a little bit of buying going on across the board. Even in oil, up 1% following that news. Also, I don't know if you guys are already in there or not, but if you are not in our Telegram channel, real quick, make sure to join there. We're going to be doing some giveaways here pretty soon, giving away some copies of the Edgefinder, as well as sharing updates on what is happening in the financial markets from both a macro fundamental as well as technical perspective. If you're somebody who is interested in keeping up with our macro footnotes each day, if you're a bit of a reader, if you don't mind keeping a little bit of an update on our Telegram channel, I highly recommend it, especially if you're looking to learn more about fundamentals this year. If you're trying to implement macro, trying to take it to the next level, a free way to start learning obviously is, of course, to tune into the live streams each day and learn through this. But also, if you can't make it to every live stream, or you just want kind of a 1-minute read here each day, join us inside of the Telegram channel. We'll drop the link here in the chat, and also right below my camera. If it's easier for you, you can just scan the QR code there. But yeah, just stay up to date on this, and you'll see, again, we're posting updates. Like Alan just did a little bit of a publication on what's going on with the dollar index, what to watch for here, and not just technicals, right? We're also breaking down what's happening with, of course, the fundamentals, the Federal Reserve, the economy, etc. So we'll drop the link here in the chat to join the Telegram channel. It is free to join. We also stream in there, so we're streaming there right now. So do you still do the Owanda podcast? I do. We've just been on pause during the holiday season. Like I said, there is the link in the chat. Just click this and it will take you to our Telegram channel, completely free to join. Okay, let's keep going. US stock market opens up in 1 minute. We'll see if it causes any volatility. Bitcoin's trying to recapture some ground here, retesting this 94,000 level. Let's see if you can get above this. I mean, that's a bare minimum to start watching for bullish breakouts, but been very, very rough for the crypto crowd here. But I think, we're maybe in the process of trying to base out here. Possibly you're going to see an attempt from the bulls try and get above this area. I'm a little hesitant to give it pay too much attention to it, unless you start to see this kind of formation, right? If you start to see higher lows, higher highs on Bitcoin, then it sort of is more in my wheelhouse. I do like to trade charts that are moving up more than I like charts that are moving down when it comes to trying to look for longs. Different styles, right? There's some people who really like to trade, buy low, sell high. I am much more of a trader that likes to buy high and try and sell higher, or sell low and buy back lower. It's a little bit different of a mentality, but trend following is typically trying to follow, not lead, what's happening in markets. So if the market's moving up, I'm generally going to be going with it, as long as both the technical trend and the macro trend aligns, right? So to monitor the macro trend, I'm going to also watch the Edgefinder's top setups. I mentioned this earlier. We are going to be doing some giveaways inside of our Telegram channel. That is where we will be dropping some free access to Edgefinder. If you are interested in getting access to the Edgefinder for free, click and join our Telegram channel. That is where we will be doing the giveaway. For more information, just follow us in Telegram and stay reading along each day, and maybe you'll win a copy. Who knows? Anyways, with that said, we're going to throw the stream over now to our next show host. It is, of course, Ivan FX, and we'll see what he has to say as we jump into a new year, 2026, trading, the financial markets, and sharing everything that we've got to share on this stream. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Ivan just after this quick break. If you're someone in the United States looking for a Forex broker, it's been hard to find recently. There's been a lot of changes in the industry, so I wanted to take a moment to tell you guys about Oanda. Oanda is a US regulated brokerage that allows US traders to trade currency pairs like the euro dollar, the pound dollar, the dollar yen, Kiwi yen, all sorts of different currency pairs. So if you're interested in checking out Oanda, we're going to be dropping a link in the chat right now as we speak. They, again, are a huge brokerage in the United States that allows you to trade without the worry of whether or not your account is going to get shut down tomorrow from an offshore, unregulated, sketchy brokerage. They have been around for a long time, and I've used them myself for a number of years. So if you're looking to trade FX and you're in the US, this is the brokerage to check out in my personal opinion. So take a look at it. We'll drop the link in the chat, like I mentioned, should also be in the description of this live stream. Do your due diligence and see if it's right for you. Now back to the show.
I really agree with you, Cycling Club 55, about being long Aussie Swiss. That looks like, what are you? Pretty decent, pretty nice trade. Now 2026 is upon us, and for me, this is the first time today that I'm, looking at a chart. So let's rewind a bit. For me, for 2026, was it 2025? I said that we were going to fall last week or so of the year, and then we should, so your dollar should rise last week of the year, and then we should fall into the new year. And that seems to me, and at least if you're looking at my what do you call it, my arrows from last year, it seems to be quite right. Just made this one a bit earlier today, but something like this is kind of what I was looking at. And to me, that is the power that I really want you to develop into the new year, is forecasting. No matter how wrong you are, no matter how much wrong you were or going to be, if you never try, you would never know what's really happening. And you're never going to be a part of the move. And now the question is, which move you're going to be a part of? That's all it comes down to, strategy and all those things. But what I really saw in 2025 was the scarcity, the analysis paralysis, the I don't know what's going to happen, so I don't want to. Or the other parties was overconfident. We just gotta go, and then it failed, and then led to crying and being disappointed. I said in a in our mentoring meeting a few minutes ago inside the Discord channel that I think that dollar could rise to 100. And I just heard Nick saying he's a bit cautious about dollar rising, and I say it's go time, baby. It is January. It is the time that I generally see dollar generally rising, generally until March. Now, last year was a bit of a mix in that department, but generally, this is what I see. That generally, I guess I say generally a couple times now, but oftentimes I see that the end of the year is the bottom, and then we slowly but surely we rise. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. Generally speaking, it is the monetary policy, and we saw that coming in from Powell at the end of the year, where they were a bit more, a bit more dovish than I initially thought, but a bit more pausing. And that is, of course, dollar bullish. And then the influx of money going into the treasury, because people are going to, or companies are going to start paying taxes. That needs to move money from across the world into America, into the US Treasury. That strengthens the US dollar. And then the third one is, of course, risk events. And we had one of the weekend. I assume that it's probably going to come more, but it's kind of like as much as we have just let Santa Claus going out of the chimney, another things pop out of our chimney. So it's every year there's another one, there's another thing, there's another theme. Last year was trade wars. Now it is an intervention of invasion of another country. It could be other things, but at time of this year, this time of year around, generally that tends to happen. Whatever the name is, it is always a risk event. So that drives dollar higher. That's generally what I'm expecting. So since we already have it, I would argue, get a bit of going at a moment, then I'm more than inclined to, at least by Monday, to find a pullback and get an entry. Now, are we gonna break 98.80 or not? I don't know. I don't really care. I just do know that we are at resistance. We are not at support. We have made a new higher high. We have made a first higher high and higher low. That means that is number one trade, and then the number two trade. I'm waiting for my second pullback. Is that the candle? I don't know. I don't really care because it's not deep enough for me to get an entry. So whatever I'm talking about is only my setups and how I want to trade. And generally in a reversal, I really love reversals, by the way. Is in my blood. I can even be happy with it coming down all the way to 97.80. I don't think that's going to happen, but hey. And then for me, I find out that there is a couple of challenges going forward, and presumably I need to find out next time US CPI announcement. Because I need to know. Okay, there isn't. Okay, that's just 2024. I don't know why. Chart 2026. That would be great. Thank you very much. I'm just reading consumer price index 14th of January. So that's going to be a very important day for me to check out the calendar. Okay, one is the CPI going to be released? When is the PPI going to release? When is the PSE going to be released? So that I'm fully on top of that and doesn't just come down like out of a sudden. So I was about to say a Norwegian saying, but yeah, like Christmas Eve falls into the lap of yeah, I'm just not gonna do it anyways. So dollar, I believe it's gonna go higher. Now euro's already fallen a bit. I think that's a good bit. I think there's a good fall. I think it's gonna have a bit of a pullback and then continue lower. Pound not really that much interested. Aussie is way more stronger than I initially thought, at least. So this isn't as great as, but that is, again, we can identify reversals. That is the first reversal. That is the first pullback. We haven't made a second pullback. That is, of course, so concern. But again, it's just 5th of January. New Zealand, yeah, I mean, it's okay. It has done what I imagined it to do. That is number one. And then it didn't do number two yet. So that's okay. Now, that is a bit of a longer fall than euro has done already. And that's a bit of a concern, again, because I really want to see lower lows and lower highs, and how we reverse on New Zealand is slowly but surely. And when we have this fall, that's more than I want, and I really want that pullback to come up to here. That would be great. Now that it didn't do that, that makes me concerned that this may just fall out of nowhere and leave me at the station before the train even arrived. So for me, I'm just looking for deeper pullbacks right now. It actually looks quite amazing, I would argue. So setting up for euro, I would argue, when can euro become that? I would arguably think that maybe Monday, maybe Thursday would be great. Now, 14th is next week's Wednesday, right? So if that is horribly bad CPI numbers, that's of course going to send this one higher. That's a part of the risk. That's a part of how Joshua says, I don't see the end man merch, but you are like the market pups. Happy New Year, Evan. Thank you very much, Joshua. Now, what do I tell? What do I call myself sometimes? Well, it is the yen man. And the reason why is we have had some fantastic runs on the yen pairs previously, though, just as good as your past trade. Uh, but I'm the one that loves it, and I feel like I have a certain understanding of it, and it did slightly easier for me to trade. And I said a couple of moments ago over in the meeting, I said yen is going to fall this week, meaning also yen going higher, CAD yen going higher, euro yen going higher, pound yen going higher, and dollar yen going higher at least going forward. Now that is not an immediate buy or direction that generally I believe should happen throughout the year. Now, can we have deeper pullbacks? Yes, absolutely. We can have deeper pullbacks. We can have hundreds of pips of fall before it takes off again. But I do have a concern that always is going to be a concern is that dollar yen peak is about 160, 162, because that's where Bank of Japan tends to, or Ministry of Finance of Japan tends to intervene. If market rises too quickly to such levels, then we did hit 158, come down to 154.50, and then back up again. So, okay. Me in my dollar strength situation, when we go back to January 2024 or so, because 2025 was a bit different, then am I going to start expecting market to rise and rip fast and to go into a new trend? That is absolutely one of my key wants and wishes. The only problem is that 2024 and last time I would consider a normal market year was because Trump kind of messed things up, is that it was a very low, and then we had a long way to go from 140. Right now we have a very short way to go from 156 to 160. So, I don't know. I can just put it in my calendar if that's the direction I believe it should go. But the current market, as if this was a beautiful lower low, if this was a trend, something of this sort, and we were 150, I would be thrilled like a kid on Christmas Eve. And I want to go higher. I don't know what that is, but don't care. So, it's it's not a great setup. So it's coming back to what we talked about in the meeting earlier today is when you don't feel comfortable about a setup, leave it, come back later. And then you have to be very careful of when it does go in your direction, and it did go into your direction, you don't come back and feel like you're missing out, you did a bad decision, because the only thing you can train yourself to do is to do what you can do best in the moment at the current. So I just made a decision. I don't think this is a great. I don't feel like this is a great market situation. Don't come back tomorrow when it does go to 158 and say, "Oh, I should have, I could have, I would have." No, 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 no. You made a good decision. You made a decision. Stand by it. Learn by it, so that you're going to, but you never double and double check you again, because you are only going to fail or feel like a failure and be in that state of always feeling like you failed because you never do anything right, when you're not giving yourself the good credit of actually that you actually made a good decision, because it is the decision making you have to train, not your second guessing. Sorry, not your coming back tomorrow and saying you should have, could have, would have. Maxine, I haven't seen your trades lately. Can you please give me a little bit of an update in that department? Maxi. Last trade I saw from you. that you want New Zealand Swiss to go higher. That's about 11th of December. So yeah, cool. Okay. Great. So setups. Dollar Swissy. Dollar Swissy for me is like the dream. Swiss has very low interest rate. I just hope it falls forever. Market doesn't seem to agree with it, but yeah, wet dream of mine to get into a good trade at the bottom. So we have the higher high on 4 hour. We hit the higher high again. So the question is, where's the pullback going to be at, and how many pips is it now? 98. Okay, it's a bit rough for it to help for us to have a stop loss. Let's say something like this. Now the question becomes, how much of a deep pullback can it give us? I magically found 38. Okay, we can do 38 stop loss there. Hope and pray. Something like this. Okay, fair enough. We'll see. I don't know if I will get it, but hopefully I'll get it tomorrow. Excuse me. I really love showing you guys the trades that you guys take. Sometimes it's just lovely to see. So this is Maxi in chat. Just send me this on Discord. And had a bit of a pullback on New Zealand Swissy. This is the, which chart is it, Maxi? New Zealand Swissy daily, 4 hours. Sorry. Had some attempts at various, I would argue, quite good levels. If you send me this as your trading history, I would be like, I don't have any job here. You are an absolutely fantastic trader. I wish I could have done it myself. Though you can see the entries are quite early. They're not really ripe. So if I were to be myself, I would probably be more in there waiting for the reversal and then take it. But I mean, who do you know? How do you know? Great trades. I love Max as a trader. Great knowledge. Wish I could be like him one day. So yeah, fantastic. Now the Swiss in itself is to me a bit of a mystery, in the sense that we have the Swiss National Bank wanting to do one thing, market doing the opposite, and there's a war of tug war, where a Swiss National Bank is trying to make the Swiss weaker, market make it stronger, makes dollar Swiss fall. Yeah. I don't know. I've set it up as a thing, and then add an alert, and then we come back to it when it gives me an alert, and see if this just comes down in one candle, I'll be a bit more worried. But if it comes down nicely to me by London tomorrow, I will be singing with the birds. But yeah, I'll be singing with the birds. So that's set up there. And then Euro Yen. So the question that everyone has asked themselves today, though, who's trading Euro Yen, is, can I buy now? No. Well, you may enjoy the ride. I love the ride. And the reason is quite simple. I fear that Euro is falling out of nowhere. And the low is not in yet. Even as if it is, it would be great. Thank you very much, sir, for making that a low. But this is the question of how low can it go before it goes higher question. And I never know. It's an answer I never have. So throughout Christmas, I think I had a break or a pause or whatever that was about this time. So we are almost coming back down to the same price. Didn't really, the Bank of Japan didn't really send the market off even though the market felt like, well, we are less likely to hike. Going forward, they're a bit, comprehended. So, I mean, even with that sentiment, we are almost back to entry again. So that leads me to another thing you always have to learn is that when you see a market mover, the question you have to ask yourself always is, why does it move? And end of the year going into Christmas evidently did not send euro yen higher at the end of the day into an never-ending bullish trend. Okay, just have that as a mark going into mid-December, going into mid-June, end of June. Same situation, lack of liquidity, lack of traders. Now we are trying to play out a move more than what happened earlier. I think every trader has one setup that doesn't play out until it takes the end of the year to break. Yeah. And okay, so yeah, and I think that's an absolutely fantastic and beautiful take. I absolutely 100% agree with it. In the sense that for yen pairs, I say I buy about August and it might come to fruition about December. Some years, other years than others, we had done this. And then last December, boom. And you question yourself, how sane am I to wait for an expected for market to go higher, only for it to make a brand new lower low, and then it goes absolutely ballistically higher. But of course, I would love every single year to have this kind of market. Every single year would be absolutely fantastic, absolutely beautiful. So for this current pullback to happen on euro yen or pound yen ish, maybe not so much, New Zealand yen ish, is a much needed, or for that matter, take New Zealand yen, much more choppy, but then going towards November, boom. That was your year end profit, even though you wanted to do a euro yen like small and steady. These other currencies just doesn't give you the benefit of doubt or anything. That's really frustrating. But that's part of the plan. That's a part of your trade, and that's what part of what you're supposed to be doing. Hi, bro. What's your prediction today? But you're beautiful. That's my prediction today. I have said this for quite a while, but I believe gold should go higher. That is not a testament to today's movement. That is not a testament to tomorrow's movement. But I have one crucial, important note is that we may or may not, but generally speaking, when the new year comes around, depending, we tend, not 2025, but 2024 more, we tend to peak or pause in January going into February. So even though you think, oh, we're actually going to go higher, but yeah, and then it moves maybe in another time of the year or March or whatever. I'm not, I'm slightly bullish January, February, with a potential peak of about 24th. And you always know if you have followed me for more than 2 minutes, I just want this to drop, and I'm never getting it. So I'm just going to end up being poor on gold. Because I never get an entry here. And then that's why you have to look to Nick, because I don't know, never found the confidence. Truth to be said, let me speak the truth to you, since 2026 is truth year. Is that I wait. I'm not at the market when it does what I want it to do, and then it runs off. And that was about here. And I'm not gonna claim that I would ever be a part of this move. And it is what it is. There is nothing there for me to discuss because I never took it. But in here, I was looking for a slightly deeper pullback, and then it took off. Fair enough. I'll take that on my bill. I just wasn't prepared for it. So for me, my preparedness for gold is that I always wanted to go deeper than it actually does, and then I missed the market, missed the move. But generally being right about the direction, but that doesn't pay my bills. So I am more on the yen pairs and dollar pairs than gold pairs, truth be told. But yeah, my preparedness and predictions have been slightly off on gold. That's why. But do I want gold or dollar yen to go higher? Absolutely fantastic move to go higher. Sorry. Yannick says that each platinum is has the highest gains on them all and still undervalued. I think that's also to mention of silver. Silver finally has taken a good move. I think it's going to move higher. Will dollar yen at the end of the day close bullishly or at a well, as a green candle? Is I'm going to be very micro with you. This is kind of end of a trend type situation. So if this can, and my prediction, if that is a prediction of all, not financial advice whatsoever to be intended, but I want it to go lower, whatever that means for you. I need it to go lower, whatever that means for you, so that I can get a better entry. We already have some fall, and I'm appreciative of that. I want it just to fall more. Why? It's still very high. Both locally on 1 hour and 4 hour and daily. So I'm not too confident on that at the moment. We did gold. I wanted to pull back, doesn't at the moment. DXY is having a moment. I hope it comes back up to 100, and then SP500 is having also a moment of slightly higher high now, but on the open. But if I were to express gifts for this year from Santa Claus, I would wish to have gone down to 6770, so or 6775, sorry, like much deeper pullback than it actually did. Again, not being part of the gang left me in alone. I can take it. It's alright. We did do central pivot though, but I really want us to do them too. So again, I live finally with this one because we have two ways for January. You have one, this one can take off and be, yeah, this one can take off and go off towards the end of the year, or it can actually have a much deeper pullback in January, which it has tend to do, given not that it has any result whatsoever at the moment. Then maybe the Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico can give it some turmoil so that we are at a better and a lower level. That would be my slight wet dream. So that being said, I think I've said quite what I want to discuss with you guys. Dollar strength, yen weakness. That means dollar yen is a great opportunity. I'm looking to sell New Zealand dollar, euro dollar, and buying dollar Swiss isn't great at the moment. So I need to develop. I'm gonna come back at London Open tomorrow to see is there anything at all. Gold is too high for me, and dollar yen, yeah, again too high for me. So need a bit more repricing. Even though, I mean, you can take this current price if you want to enjoy, but it's not my cup of tea. Okay, so that makes my part of the show ending. I wish you a very much great day, great year, great month, great profits, and until next time, boom. Love you.
Hey guys, I just wanted to jump in for a second and let you know a little bit about today's live stream sponsor, DNA Funded. DNA Funded has very generous profit sharing up to 90% and 3 different unique challenge types. For those looking to get funded, they also have speedy payouts, unlimited trading days on the first and second phase of their challenges, a very wide list of different things you can trade with over 800 different assets tradable, and maybe the most important component, a very experienced team behind the whole operation. So if you're interested in learning more about DNA Funded, click the link, check it out, see if it's right for you, and make sure to do your own due diligence to see if what they have to offer fits your trading style. For 20% off, you can use code A1T20. Again, that will be 20% off any of their challenges you'd like to check out. Thank you again to DNA Funded for sponsoring today's live stream. Now back to the show.
Hello everyone, welcome to my segment of the live stream. Happy New Year. I hope everyone is doing well. Hope you have a great 2026. We started off with some pretty crazy news. So US, Venezuela, kidnapping, UFOs. So a lot of memes on the internet, but it's not really that funny. It's pretty serious. So the market impact so far, let's take a look. Actually, it is pretty funny. But the market impact so far has been silver up, gold up quite a lot actually compared to the previous candles. Dollar up as well. Yen kind of nowhere on the daily chart. And yeah, that's about it. That's kind of the general thermometer. S&P up on the day, NASDAQ also up on the day. So many of you are probably wondering, as am I, or as I have wondered, so what is the impact of the whole drama with the US and Venezuela? What can happen? What could this translate into? What is the impact on the markets? Now, the most similar situation that we had was, let's say, the US invading Iraq, but they actually invaded. They didn't do this UFO kidnapping thing. They just invaded with boots on the ground. So this one is a bit less serious so far. But if you look at assets like the dollar, gold, silver, when the US invaded Iraq, we can do that actually. So I already did it, but let's do it once again. So when you're backtesting something, this is the best opportunity for me to show you. You just jump on TradingView. You go to the date that you want to see. So let's first look at gold. You open gold. You go to the date tab. You go to 2003, March 20th. Go. And then what I do is I click the replay function. And I go to, let's say, the 23rd of May. So then you can zoom in a bit. This is the daily chart, by the way. You can zoom in a bit on the 20th of March. This is when it happened. And the reaction was not that bullish. Now, you would expect for a risk-off situation to be bullish for gold, bullish for silver, maybe even bullish for the US dollar, because the US dollar usually acts as a safe haven. So you would expect that, but it didn't happen. Let's look at silver. So what is cool is TradingView saves your date. So when you jump on silver, you're going to get the exact date where the last bar is located at. So 20th of March, right there. Okay, now silver actually went up after the event. So after the event, silver actually started grinding higher. And let's take a look at the DXY. So the US dollar. The dollar, weirdly, let's see. The dollar started losing value after it. So the DXY started losing value, but I would say it continued losing value because we were already in a pretty massive downtrend. So I would say the impact was not that drastic, which is what we're seeing today as well. I mean, is this a huge impact on the DXY on the daily candle? No. This one, it is a big candle, but is it a huge impact? No. Gold, well, gold is starting to shape up as a pretty big candle actually. So gold seems to be reacting in a pretty bullish manner on this daily chart. I'm not gonna lie. Makes sense. Risk off. Gold goes up. Unfortunately, I got taken out of this position by a couple of points. So I got taken out prematurely, you can say, and now it is a runner. So took a loss on gold. I do have a sell setup on silver. Okay, so I do have a sell setup on silver. Still running, currently in a little bit of a drawdown. The reason I have a sell setup on silver is because it looks overbought. It looks crazy parabolic. It looks like Bitcoin in 2018 and 2021, just before the crash. Wall Street Bets, the crazy website, says that most of the retail money is piled into silver. So basically, this is very much impacted by retail movement, very much impacted by retail buying, and that's not what you want to see. And then you had the massive rejection candle. Okay, and on top of that, you have something called portfolio rebalancing. So these are some big money portfolios or money managers that have to hold, for example, 4.5% of their portfolio needs to be in silver. So at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of 2025, let's say, so 2025, they were holding 4.5% of, let's say, 100 million. So that means that they had 2025, let's say 2025 January, okay? Let's put it here as well. They had 4.5 million of silver, okay? That's what they held. Now, if you zoom out a bit, you're gonna notice, let's see, from January up until now, here to, let's say, current price. Let's do the current price. So 161%. That's more than 2x. Okay, that's more than 2x. But let's say that they made 2x. Let's say that they made 10 million, a bit more than 2x. So that would mean that in 2025 December, they had 10 million worth of silver in their account, right? But they need to start 2026 with 4.5%. And this is now 2025 December, probably around 10% of portfolio, okay? So now their silver is overweighted in the portfolio, so they need to sell to get back to 4.5%. They need to sell 5, maybe 6 million worth of silver to get back to 4.5% of their 100 million portfolio. Okay, that's how it works. So usually this rebalancing is done in January. So I'm expecting for them to sell silver during January. That's the edge. That's the bet. That's kind of the whole thesis for this position. It's not massive risk. It's kind of a small risk position, but I have a stop loss above the all-time highs and a take profit at around 60.1, because I think it's kind of, it can definitely happen. Like if we get a pullback, we can definitely hit 60.1. I think it's very likely to happen, actually. One more thing. If you did your back testing, once silver has a great year, so once silver makes, let's say, 100% or more in a year, usually the January of the next year is negative, and the whole next year is usually around break even or negative. So silver outperformance does not follow year from year. If silver has a rock star year, usually next year is not so great. Usually the next year is actually pretty bad. That's at least what the statistics are telling us. So that is my first position that I have. I have NZUSD long, which is now in around break even. and I have AUD USD, which is running nicely, I would say. Game plan for these positions is to hold them. So I'll be holding these positions until the 15th of January, most likely. I will most likely manually close these positions on the 15th of January. The reason is these positions were the top positions put out by some big world banks such as JP Morgan, Citibank, Barclays, and others. Usually when big banks have these favorite currencies, they buy these currencies at the end of December, beginning of January. So by the 15th of January, most of the buying that they are doing is done. So that's the game plan. Of course, you will be updated in the A1 Discord. All 4 of these positions were signals in the A1 Discord. By the way, if you want to join the A1 Discord, you can get 25% off with the code Marco. So code Marco gets you 25% off for the whole Discord and for the Edge Finder as well. So the discount code works for both. Yeah, all 3 trades were a signal, even gold, silver, break even, USD around break even, Aussie dollar in some pretty nice profit. But you will be notified in the Discord when I decide to close these positions. Again, I may change my mind. I may consider using a trailing stop loss instead of a manual close. But for now, the game plan is to close it on the 15th of January, because that is when I expect some weakness to come, for these positions. So that's my watch list right there. I'm thinking of putting USD JPY, but I'm not going to put it just yet. So I'm definitely closely watching USD JPY because we are trickling higher. We are approaching those higher levels. We are approaching that potential intervention zone, which you definitely want to keep in mind. Okay, the intervention zone, very, very important stuff. Basically, from 158 to 162, very troublesome area. We already had some talk from the BOJ, from the guys over at basically BOJ, that they may do an intervention or that they don't like the exchange rate, which should mean red alert for us. They're basically saying, we don't like the exchange rate. We have the power to do an intervention. We're most likely going to do an intervention. What is the level where they will most likely do an intervention? 158 or above. They already did a big one in 2024. This is what happened. Pretty crazy. How can you make money on that? Well, you can have an alert on this area, watch what happens, see how the situation develops, and maybe have a sell limit on the top of the area. Stop loss, let's say above 160. Take profit at the bottom of this range. Let's say targeting these lows. Pretty easy setup, pretty easy trade. I would say the edge is powerful as well. So if I decide to take this position, of course, you will be notified in the A1 Discord. So far, I don't have a position in, but that's a great way to trade. You can look at some of these extraordinary events that happen maybe once per year, once every 2 years, and it's not that hard to make money on these events. Like, what would be the methodology? BOJ has been pretty vocal lately. They don't like the UJ exchange rate. They have the power of an intervention. They will most likely do an intervention. So you have a pretty good reward to risk and a pretty good win rate if you just do a sell limit at the intervention zone. Just a second. At the intervention zone. Okay. So that is one other thing that I'm watching. As far as the stock market goes, my personal focus is on the NASDAQ. I'm looking at the NASDAQ and I'm considering what to do here. For me personally, this is a no-go zone right now. Seems a bit flat, seems a bit corrective. I don't want to touch it at this area. I would like to see the NAS go into all-time highs. I would like to get a bit more data on the US economy. We had the US government blackout, so the BLS data reporting was not consistent. it was pretty inaccurate. So I'm waiting for more reliable data on the US, and then I would consider maybe getting in a buy setup. But this just looks so flat lately. Basically, from the 30th of October, we haven't done much. S&P did go up into all-time highs, but still it looks a bit flat. Still it looks a bit like a slowdown. And there has been a clear rotation, by the way. So there has been a clear rotation out of tech stocks into other sectors like healthcare, energy, let's say mining, stuff like that. That is why you can see the S&P outperformed the NASDAQ in the last couple of weeks. But still, it doesn't look so bullish. It just looks a bit flat, looks a bit stagnant, and I don't really want to get in right now. I would definitely like to see this breakout into all-time highs. If we can get some momentum, some juice going for, let's say, this to happen, then it's game on. Then that is very bullish. And that's a game changer as far as the stock market goes. As far as gold goes, so when talking about gold, had a trade on, which I showed you at the beginning. So took a loss, unfortunately. Risk off, great environment for gold. I'm super bullish on gold, much more bullish than on silver. I think silver is going to have a bad 2026. Gold, though, is going to do pretty well, I would say. Inflation is expected to go up. There's lots of spending, lots of printing going on. Trump is going to have the big, beautiful bill come out. Lots of spending, lots of printing. Inflation is elevated in the States. So let's look at inflation CPI. Let's look at the US. Inflation is elevated. Let me just do 2 years. I think it's better to do 2 years. Yeah, so inflation is still elevated, still above 2%, and the Fed is planning to cut interest rates, Fed Watch tool. They're planning to do 2 rate cuts of 25 basis points. Okay, let me see. Yeah, see, so by December of 2026, you just click on December here, and then you get this one. You look at this one. So the current target rate is 350 to 375. The target rate for the end of 2026 is 300 to 325. So that's 2 basis points. Okay. So they're going to cut rates into elevated inflation. That is, of course, bullish for gold. Definitely bullish for gold. What do I need to see to look for a buy setup? Well, since I'm short on silver, and gold and silver are so correlated, I'm not exactly hot in taking a buy setup on gold. I'm not so keen on getting in on another buy setup. If price comes back a bit to the 20 MA, pulls back a bit, I may try to get in, maybe. Unfortunately, I missed my shot with this one. But again, stopped me out by a few points. Happens all the time. Actually, it's just the probabilities. Sometimes you'll stay in, sometimes you'll get taken out prematurely. So the game plan is to wait things out a bit on gold. You know, the year is just starting. There's a bit less volatility. There's a bit less movement overall. Most big players, most whales, most hedge funds, I think they're still on vacation, still a bit sleepy at the wheel. I think after the 15th of January, things should heat back up again. You should get more activity and you should get some better narratives. So far, it's a bit of a clean slate. For me, as a trader, as a fundamental trader, looking at fundamentals, reading stuff, seeing what other traders are doing, it's a bit of a clean slate and we need to see some narratives develop. And we need to get some more data. So we're getting some more data from the US this week. We're getting the JOLTS job openings in the NFP and the unemployment rate. Super important stuff. Very, very important stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that is kind of what I'm personally waiting for on gold. A bit more development, a bit more for the narrative, and to kind of see what happens with silver as well. Because if silver tanks, and I still think it could go down in January, if silver tanks, gold should most likely follow. You know, there is a definite correlation with gold and silver, no doubt about it. So do I really want to have a short setup on silver and try to get back into gold in a buy setup? Haven't yet decided. Now, time for the sponsor of today's video, which is going to be DNA Funded. But I quickly need to open up my account because I forgot to do it before the stream. So I've been trading with a 50K DNA Funded account. I'm in the funded stage actually. And I'm using ChatGPT to execute positions just for my YouTube channel, for a YouTube series I'm doing. But it's going pretty well. So let me bring it up. Let me bring up the portal. Okay, let's minimize this, expand that, put it back up. This is my account. Okay, so this is the account. Two positions open, both are running some small profit. This is a fund account, by the way. Current profit is minus 2.5K, so I'm in the negative, in the red, but I'm trying to climb out of it, trying to get back up to break even or maybe even positive. Now, if you want to get funded, if you want to expand your trading capital, DNA Funded is absolutely a great option. With our discount code A1Live, so A1 Live, you can get 25% off any challenge. So A1 Live, DNA Funded, 25% off. Make sure you check it out. So it's a reliable company ran by professionals. There's a big broker behind it. They're not going to disappear in a few months. They are direct competitors to best prop firms in the space, such as FTMO, 5%ers, E8 Markets. But with our code, with A1 Live, you get a great discount code and a great price. So I think it's the cheapest price for one of the best firms in the industry. Okay. And now we still have 7 more minutes, so time for the comments. By the way, happy 2026. I'm not sure if I mentioned it at the start of the stream, but I wish you all the best. I wish you great profits. I wish you to expand your trading capital and just to crush this new year. With Trump in office, we can definitely get some movements in the price. You know, he is a really volatile guy. He can really rock the markets, which for traders is good. So let's see. Joshua, hello, welcome to the stream. Cycling Club, hello. Buy or sell weather futures. Haven't checked weather futures at all, so I don't know anything about it. Wall Street Bets is a top tier contrarian indicator, absolutely. And you know what is the top topic on Wall Street Bets? Buying silver. So not the best thing you want to see. Pretty contrarian indicator, and one of the reasons why I decided to take a stab short on silver right there. Okay. And I'm getting positive swaps if I'm not mistaken. Let me check my broker. I think I'm getting positive swaps. I should be getting them. Let's see. Let's look at this. Silver. Yeah. So selling silver, actually you make positive swaps, which is not that bad. Usually I pay negative swaps in most cases. Making money on swaps is good for a change. He's going to hit his stop loss in silver. Well, we shall see. I still think it's a good position. Big Beautiful Bill. Yeah, it's actually called the Big Beautiful Bill, which I think is a pretty cool name. Easiest play of this first half is to fade the DXY when it goes back to 100. Maybe. DXY. I'm still bearish on the DXY. Not massively bearish. I'm not calling for, let's say, DXY to 95. I think that's too ambitious. But short-term bearish, yes. So I think this goes down a bit more. And it is reflected in my NZD-USD long, AUD-USD long, right? What is your view on Euro Aussie, Pound Aussie? Sure, we can take a look. What is your risk management for your long-term funded account? 1% per trade. Very, very easy. So just 1% per trade for phase 1, phase 2, funded stage. You can drop it to 0.5, but I'm keeping the full 1%. So Max says, Marco, only if they pay. Still waiting for clarification. Yeah, so Max, definitely let me know if you get some updates on that. How do you know about the news on 15 January regarding NZD? There's no news. It's just a seasonality occurrence where the big banks share with let's say, not the general population, but share with other traders, investors, people in the finance business. They share their favorite views. And the big banks, they like the New Zealand dollar, but they especially like the Australian dollar. So when they have this sort of end of the year, beginning of the new year news, they usually execute these positions around the 15th of December to 15th of January. So it's just a seasonality occurrence. This year, they like the New Zealand, they like the Aussie. Aussie, they definitely also started buying. Look, after this is the 15th, definite buying. They definitely went in. You could even make the case for the New Zealand, although it has pulled back now. I still think it's quite a strong play, quite a strong position. But it's not a scheduled news event. It's just a fundamental or a seasonal edge, sort of just focused on seasonality. But every year is a bit different because they have a different view every year. So this year they like the Aussie. Next year they may like the dollar. They may like the euro. And actually this year they hate the pound. They hate the British pound. So we can take a look at GBP USD. Actually went higher. So this is not in line with the view from the big banks. The big banks seem to be, at least, they seem to be short on the UK, short on the pound. So far, hasn't translated into the price. Dow Jones going crazy. Let's see what you mean. Actually, true. Dow Jones looking quite bullish after this V reversal pattern. So you have kind of a V reversal right there, then a bit of a range. Then it goes higher. Interesting stuff. Although I'm not directly looking at the Dow, I'm focusing on the NAS and the S&P. That's my main focus, especially the NAS. But I want to see all-time highs. I want to see some more bullish price action. I want to see a new narrative develop. Platinum, Aussie Swiss, Aussie CAD, I've been buying these two. Are you still in the silver position? Has your bias changed? I'm still in. Bias still the same. I'm still bearish. Short-term bearish. I'm not calling for a crash. I'm calling for a correction, for a pullback. And I think with this parabolic move higher, I think we can go back to 60.1. I believe it's possible. Several banks forecast the NZD to go to 0.6. Yeah, that is true. That is one of the things that I have discovered as well. I don't think it's going to go there by Q1. I think it's going to take a bit longer, but I think it can happen in 2026. Go to Funded Trader website, not working for anybody else right now. Haven't had any experience with them. I think it's a pretty shady company, if I'm not mistaken. Now we had some requests a bit higher. Euro Aussie, Pound Aussie. So let's take a look. Euro Aussie. So Euro Aussie, Edge Finder. What do we have? Top setups. Euro Aussie. Neutral. Okay, neutral. Not the best reading that you want to see. Pound Aussie, PAUD. Neutral as well. I'm definitely bullish on the Aussie. Let me check out the PAUD. I'm bearish on the pound, although it's flat. The technicals just don't reflect my current bias, and the Edge Finder is neutral. That's another problem as well. Usually, I would like to see the edge finder give me a clear bullish or bearish reading, and I would like to see the chart be in a trend, the daily chart, that is. So I need a trend and I need the edge finder. If I'm being honest, I don't like either of these. They're not for me. They don't fit my personal trade plan. Euro Aussie seems to be moving in this big channel formation. I would not be surprised if we get a bounce here, although fundamentally I'm more bearish than bullish because I'm bullish on the Aussie, and for the Euro I don't really have a clear view. Yeah, just I think AUD USD looks better. I think it looks better. I think there's a clear uptrend here on the daily chart, followed by the 20 MA. We have attempted a breakout. The edge finder, what is the edge finder doing on there? Let's take a look. It's the clear bias. No, neutral right now. So maybe not the best entry at this moment, but I do prefer AUD USD. If you want to do something with the Aussie, I prefer buying AUD USD than selling Euro Aussie or Pound Aussie. Actually, Pound Aussie may be good. Pound Aussie, fundamentally speaking. Although the price is super flat. Why is it so flat? Why is there no movement? Very low movement, very low volatility. So that's my view. Okay, so last thing for today before we wrap up the show. Can you tell me the difference between nominal yields and real yields? I read some time about nominal yields are what the central bank sets. Real yields is nominal yields minus inflation. Okay, so it should be on the edge finder somewhere. Let's take a look. Is it at the FX macro scanners, real yield heat map? Yeah, so here it is. This is the real yield. Okay, so that is the interest rate minus the inflation. See, interest rate minus inflation. This is the nominal yield, I believe, and this is the real yield. Very simple stuff. So that's about it from me. My segment is done. Thank you very much for watching. Welcome to the new year. You will see me tomorrow. I'll be streaming for the whole week, and we're going to do, of course, more charts. I'm going to look at the whole Venezuela thing. I'm going to do a bit more research, see exactly how it impacts the markets. You can catch me in the A1 Discord until I see you again tomorrow. So thank you, and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.
Thanks again for watching today's show. Our goal at A1 Trading is to continue to share free value to our audience through daily videos and articles, keeping you up to date with the latest market coverage. If you enjoy our content, make sure to subscribe for more. From all of us at A1 Trading, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.